Rome wasn't always an empire. For 500 years, it was a republic, a messy, loud, and often violent democracy. But by 60 BC, the system was finally breaking. Inequality was at an all time high, civil unrest was constant, political violence was a norm, and the elections were completely rigged. The Roman Republic was designed for a small city state, not a Mediterranean superpower. The problems that allowed Caesar to take over didn't start with him. They were the result of a 100-year decay known as the Roman Revolution. For centuries, Rome's strength was its farmer soldiers. You had to own land to be in the army, and you fought to protect that land. But then massive conquests in Greece and Carthage brought in millions of slaves and infinite wealth. Wealthy senators used this slave labor to create mega farms called latifundia. Small family farmers couldn't compete with free slave labor. The result? Dispossessed farmers flooded into the city of Rome, becoming an angry, unemployed urban mob. This created a massive wealth gap where 1% of the population owned almost everything. Around 107 BC, a general named Gaius Marius, also known Caesar's uncle, changed the law, allowing landless poor to join the legions in order to save the army from a manpower shortage. Since the government didn't provide pensions, soldiers looked to their generals to provide them with land and loot after they retired. So loyalty shifted from the republic to the general. This turned the Roman army into a collection of private militia. If a general like Sulla or Caesar told his men to march on Rome, they would do it because he was the one paying their bills. Rome didn't have a written constitution. It ran on the way of the ancestors, unwritten rules of behavior and consensus. This split Rome into two bitter factions: the populares, politicians like Caesar who used their power of the mob to bypass the Senate, and the optimates, the conservative elite who used any means necessary, including assassination, to keep their power. Politics became a winner takes all game. Once you start killing your political opponents, there was no going back to civil debate. By the time Caesar shows up, the Roman Republic was far from what it originally intended to be. This wasn't a system waiting to be saved, it was a system waiting to be hijacked. Power didn't go to the best prepared, it went to the loudest, richest, and most ruthless. Into this chaos stepped Gaius Julius Caesar. He wasn't just a politician, he was a master of PR. He realized that to rule Rome, you didn't need just the Senate, you needed the people, and you needed an army. Caesar was at the time deeply in debt, but he was also extremely ambitious. He was extremely charismatic and knew very well how to read people. He realized something important. The Senate talks about the Republic, but the people were tired of being poor. So he had a plan. Caesar formed a triple threat alliance called the First Triumvirate. He had the brains, Pompey had the military clout, and Crassus had the money. But Caesar needed his own legend, so he took a command in Gaul, which is modern day France, for 8 years, and he campaigned with brutal efficiency. He wasn't just fighting, he was writing. He sent home the Gallic Wars, basically a blog of his victories. By the time he was done, he was the richest and most famous man in entire Rome. Caesar didn't invent populism, he perfected. When the Senate ordered him to give up his army and come home to face trial, Caesar made a choice that changed history. On January 10th, 49 BC, he crossed the Rubicon River. This was treason. It was declaration of a civil war. Alea lacta est, he famously said. The die is cast. He chased his rival, Pompey, all the way to Egypt, won the war, and returned to Rome as the undisputed master of the world. At that moment, the Republic doesn't collapse. It reveals that it already had.